Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk
with real siblings.
I'm Joy.
And I'm Moses.
And we got a lot to talk about tonight. Episode 8 of Sequester 4. We got your recap. But first, Real Talk. Jacob whooped that ass.
But before we get to anything, y'all gotta like and subscribe. This ain't a free service. We charge you in likes and subscribe and little hearts and thumbs up. That's what we charge.
And comments.
And comments. That's most of all. We love the comments. We love to see the comments. I have a bittersweet bit of news to deliver. Natalie followed us on Twitter and retweeted one of our tweets. So I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I feel like I can't continue hating on her, but I feel like I also have to stay true to my art.
We've never hated on Natalie, okay? This is a Natalie Stan account. All right, Natalie, if you're watching, we stan you.
She ain't watching. Drop us. If she was watching, she changed her gameplay out of respect like Spencer did. I don't care about time travel.
Stop it. That's true. Look, let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. So, episode, it's like kind of a short episode, actually. It was kind of short and sweet, perfectly packaged. I mean, tonight's episode was really fun. I liked how they put it all together. So the first thing we see is Jacob comes back. Who did he battle? Oh, Marcelo. How could we forget?
Forgot Marcelo's funeral.
Marcelo.
Classic episode.
Yeah. Not to be compared with Dan's funeral. Whole different kind of funeral. Different outcome too. But yeah, we see Jacob come back. He goes to Luxury Road. There's only one advantage left, and Jacob comes up with a goose egg. He gets nothing.
He does.
And he got us for a second. He was like, "Oh, I got 2,500," and then he was just like, "No, I actually got nothing." So Jacob comes back to the house, and I mean, it's kind of as expected. Muda doesn't really want to see, is hoping Marcelo comes back, doesn't want to see Jacob comes back. Natalie wants to see Jacob come back. And I think everybody else is just kind of like, let's see. I think Billy wanted to see Marcelo come back, maybe. I think if they asked her, probably.
Yeah. I feel like at the end game, it's all very, even your allies aren't necessarily your allies if they've been playing a good game. It's down to the wire. I know Spencer was happy to see Jacob back, but at the same time, he was like, I don't know. So it was very tame compared to the last few weeks. There was no popping off. There was no yelling, no arguments. Jacob just kind of came back in. And then they went straight into, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, he kind of maybe took a page out of Spencer's book a little bit. It comes back pretty humble and just saying, I want to reconcile, with people. And, Moon, I meant what I said, I have no hard feelings. So that was, we'll see. But interesting that you mentioned alliances and kind of shifting alliances. So I think this was a good episode to see that alliances were shifted a little bit, and your allies aren't always your allies and your enemies aren't always your enemies.
Agreed. Before we get to the twist, they had a little moment where they did an overview of the cast. They did like these player profiles, and while that was whatever, that was fine or cool, whatever, I was enamored with the like theme song piano reprise that was playing. That ish was fire. I was like, yo, right?
Oh my god, that's so crazy you mentioned that, because literally me too. I literally, I was like, I have to rewind this. Like the way they broke it down and like stripped it down, like it hit me in the heart. Like it was so emotional. That's crazy that you mentioned that, because it was fire. Like
I mean, the theme song is always fire. Who I don't know who the composer is, give them a pay raise, whatever they're getting paid, right? But then this was like a like, I'm not even gonna mimic it. I don't want to disrespect the art. It gave me, I didn't get chills, but I almost got chills thinking about it. I got chills. It was dope. It was dope. I hope they use that for like the finale episode, or so, like when they're walking out of the house with the victory speech, like
in slow-mo.
That was good.
So after that, we get to the twist. So tell us about the twist tonight.
Okay, so the twist is called Karmic Ladder. Now, I don't know why. Every time I say two words, real siblings. So the way it worked is that every player had a tube, this like plastic tube, and it had a certain line. If you fill it up to the line, it's maxed out, and they had to take sand with these little cuppies and fill up the tubes. However, they could not fill up their own tube. They had to fill up other players' tubes, and once a player's tube was filled up, they were out of the competition. So it was really this
safe.
Yeah, sorry, yes, and they were safe. Yeah, important note. They were safe, but they were also no longer part of the competition to fill up tubes. So it was really about filling up your allies' tubes and keeping them in the game faster than your enemies can fill up their allies' tubes.
Yeah, because the first 3 tubes to be filled would be safe and out of the game, like you said. And then the remaining 3 tubes would be the people who are up for elimination. So I really like the first thing I thought when I saw this competition, I was like, oh, this is very like Big Brother-esque, right? Kind of
Yeah.
like how we see like the slip and slide one where they have to use the little teacup or whatever to fill the thing.
Yeah.
Although it's like a little opposite, right? Because you're not filling your own, you're filling your allies' own. So oh man, what did you think about this? What did you think about the gameplay and strategy that we saw?
I loved it, man. And the way that I think it's better than Big Brother is that it puts people in direct conflict with each other. I think Big Brother is so shy and timid sometimes, especially in more recent seasons, about putting the house guests in competition with each other in the sense of you. It's not just your own personal abilities, right? It's not how accurate you are with a golf club hitting a ball into a net, right? It's not how much endurance you have. It's how strategic you are about eliminating your enemies and uplifting your allies. That's what this game should be about. And I thought this game was a perfect realization of that, and it came at the right time where there's all these muddled tangled web of alliances, and like this really shows where everybody stands. You can't hide it anymore when you're busy filling up somebody's tube who you said you don't like, or not filling up the person's tube who thinks you have their back. Really cool.
Yeah. And I think it also kind of like it did a great job of separating people that are playing very passive one-dimensional games
Yeah.
and people who are thinking 3 steps ahead and really playing strategically and are able to adapt their strategy on a dime.
Yeah.
And seeing someone like Natalie, I don't know if she really had a strategy going into this other than she didn't want Josh's tube to be filled and she was targeting Luna. That was kind of it. Then we see Jacob. It's like, okay, he tries to make, a quick deal off the bat with Natalie and Spencer to say, hey, one of the 3 of us rotate amongst each other and fill each other's tubes. And then that way, like on every round or every turn or whatever, one of our tubes is getting filled. And then we see Josh on a whole other level with his strategy. Like, when he mentioned that, so Josh essentially says, I'm targeting Luna. Josh wants Luna out, like the rest of the house, really. Yeah. And so he's good, but he also wants to protect Billy. And he's like, everybody else, including Billy, everybody else, I'm going to like put only half of the sand in and then spill the rest of the sand on the ground. And then you see him doing that and you see the camera show it and you're just like, this guy. You can't trust Josh. Like he's if you sharp, trust Josh man. In this game.
He's quick. He's so, I mean, I don't know what the time frame is like when they're told what the game is and what the rules are between that and them having to play it, but it seems like if you gave him 5 seconds, he's already thinking of this is how I need to play the game. And it's not just like, let me go fill up tubes with people I like, right? It's next level stuff. How do I do this in a way that's really clever and really deceitful or strategic and really advance my aims? And yeah, it was smart, man. It was really his 1-for-1 deals.
Yeah, and it's like 1 for half deals, right? Because you see him trying to make 1 for 1. So people are putting 1 full cup and he's giving them half a cup each time. And just seeing this, like, oh man, I love Josh, but I just keep thinking I could never play a game with him. Like after this, if he ever plays a mini, if he ever goes on Big Brother, like you have to get him out first. Like Josh is gonna steamroll these people.
I don't know if he was the only one doing that though. I remember seeing Jacob at one time when he said, Muna, I'll put one in for you. And she's like, okay. And then she went and he ran up and just like tossed it. Like he didn't even he was like, yep. And then went back. I don't know if that was just it was in haste and he genuinely missed it, but he literally dumped the entire cup to the side of the pool. I thought it was hilarious. So
yeah, I think some people may have been doing that with like some people that they didn't like, like Muna and Natalie. I think also trying to do that for Josh a little bit, but I think Josh was applying that across the board. He was like, everyone's gonna give me 1 full cup and everyone else is getting half a cup, period. So yeah, that was, and then I think everybody else was just kind of running around like chickens, just like, oh, you give me a cup, I'll give you a cup. You give me a cup, I'll give you a cup.
Although Billy, I noticed, was like making sure every drop of sand was going in. Like she was like a chemist. That's just Billy, right? She's loyal even when she should be disloyal. I mean, never to her detriment. It's always smart. But like I was like, man, she got every grain of sand fell in that thing. Just the opposite of the Josh strategy.
Yeah, which is also funny because they're like the closest in the house. So we see that game, really fun to watch. And the 3 people that get their tubes filled with sand the fastest are Billy, Spencer, and Josh. I thought Spencer was kind of a surprise.
Kind of,
Wasn't
yeah.
that, like, a little bit like?
I mean, it shows the amount of repair he's done to his game, right? I mean, he was on the bottom for basically half of this game, and now he's one of the top 3 apparently.
Yeah, like, I guess on the one hand, I would have thought Natalie would have been in there because I mean she's a goat. Like, you can just drag her to the end. You know, I guess maybe she's not really an ally, but she's certainly a goat. You can drag her, and you're gonna have a claim against her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Spencer has dominated in his battle back competitions, and you guys are putting him safe. Like, you guys are fighting over putting sand to, like, keep him safe. It's like his resume is, other than Muna, I mean, his resume is the best in the house.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was very interesting. I also liked the end game strategy of as really Billy, as she started to reach 100%, her allies stopped filling her up so that she could stay in the game and help fill them up. And I thought that was super cool. And we got to a point where the 3 that won were all filled up almost at the exact same time. It was really interesting and a really cool, which is why I think it's an improvement on the Big Brother dynamic where in these similar types of competitions in Big Brother, you only fill your own. And so you just, if you win, you win. There's no interesting end game, right? Whereas this one, like towards the end, I was like, oh, what, something could happen here. Like, this is interesting. But I think it's just a superior game format.
Yeah. So we see Muna, Jacob, and Natalie. They're on the bottom 3, so they are now the 3 that are up for elimination. And thinking about this game, I think a cool twist on this game, or like a cool modification, would be if they separated the tubes, right? So like in this game, they were all next to each other, so everybody was playing. Like, you could, if you're paying attention, you could see what everybody else is doing, whose tubes they were filling. But it'd be interesting if they were spread out, because I wonder if more people would, like, maybe adopt like Josh's strategy, like, and they'd feel less pressure to put sand in someone's tube because that person is standing over them watching. So
yeah, that is, hey, we'll get on the game design team next year. Hire us. We'll help y'all out.
So now we see everybody scrambling. Specifically, Muna, Jacob, and Natalie are now scrambling to figure out, okay, where the vote's gonna go. And it seems like initially everyone's like, all right, vote for Muna. And Spencer's on board. Certainly Jacob is on board. Josh is on board. And we really see Spencer and Josh kind of like lead the charge, because I think everybody recognized that, like, I mean, they're kind of a duo, and like, I don't know. I feel like everybody was kind of jockeying for their votes.
Yeah, it was interesting. Billy made a comment that she's like, Spencer was leading the conversation again, as he always does, which I think was interesting because he's backed down from that persona in the last couple of weeks, but it came out again, which I think it's, you are who you are. It was kind of leading the convo, and Josh was in the room with him. They stayed in the same room, I think the laundry room, the whole time. So I think naturally that became like the focal point of conversation. But Billy did admit that, Spencer was making a good point that Muna kind of does have to go. And Billy kind of was in the hot seat because everyone knew that she was not in favor of that. I thought it was interesting because Billy knew Muna had an LOS, right? I remember seeing that.
She tells her later.
I thought she told her in a previous episode. Did I misremember that?
Oh, maybe.
Because she's like, I would use it on you. Like, I thought she told Billy, like, I would even use it on you, right?
Oh, I think so.
I thought I remember that. So I was like, is Billy playing dumb here? Like, pretending as if, like, not that she forgot, but obviously pretending to other people she doesn't know. But even with Muna, when they had a private conversation, she was like Muna told Billy to vote for her at one point, and Billy was like, "Are you sure? Like, do you?" And I was like, "Billy, yeah, she has an LOS. Like, what are you confused about?" I don't know. It was a weird moment. I couldn't tell if Billy was playing dumb and was actually like a step ahead of everybody, or if I was misremembering. I didn't know what was going on.
It seemed like she was also surprised when later in this episode, Muna tells her she has an LOS, and she's like, "Are you sure?" So maybe, I don't know. I don't remember it either. So I'd have to like go back and watch and see, or somebody drop a comment below if you remember. But like, now that you're saying, I was like, I do remember Muna kind of telling her that she had one. And speaking of the laundry room conversation, Josh is such a character. Like, the whole time during this conversation in the laundry room, we have Josh, Spencer, and Muna and Natalie. No, sorry, Muna's not there. We have Josh, Spencer, Natalie, and Billy, right? And the 3 of them are trying to pitch to Billy that, like, look, we got to get Muna out. Now's the time to get Muna out. And Josh is just like, laid out, like lying over, like on the laundry and just like watching everyone, just like a little like Cheshire cat. And I'm just like, would I trust you if like the rest of us are like huddled trying to have a conversation and you're literally like chilling? You're actually chilling.
Yeah.
Just, he's just such a character. And at one point, I think he mentioned that like I think to Billy and Spencer that like, oh, I haven't gotten up or something like that. It was a moment where he mentioned something about like him being in a like very favorable position.
Yeah.
I remember Billy like giving him this look, and I wanted to be like, Billy, like turn that light bulb on. Like you're gonna have to like Josh is a bigger threat than you think. He's
Yeah.
not the ally that you think he is.
Yeah. I think the problem is that Muna was just such an obvious target that there wasn't really much discussion. I mean, Jacob's been a target for a few weeks too, but even he seems secondary this week. Like everyone, Muna was either you're voting Muna out or you're not voting Muna out. Those were kind of your options. There was a moment where Josh realized they have to vote Natalie. There's like, so Jacob went to, was it Jacob? I think they went to Spencer and Josh and told them that Muna has an LOS. I think it was Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. That was a great moment because we have Spencer and Josh in the room talking like they do like the whole time.
Mhm.
And Jacob comes in and Spencer turns to Jacob. He's like, we got to get Muna out. And then Jacob's like, well, yeah, that's great. And then Spencer like goes on to like try to convince Jacob why Muna is the safe bet. Is like is the vote, you know?
Mhm.
And Jacob's just like, yeah. And in his head, I'm sure he's like, yeah, say less. I've been trying to get Muna out. You don't have to convince
right?
me
Who are you
to get out
pitching to?
Muna. Like,
Yeah.
you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it was, and seeing, I mean, watching Josh play to me is inspirational. Like his ability to pivot and recognize the moment constantly. I mean, he's a bartender, and I imagine a lot of that is rapid situational awareness, right? Like having to know like this is a fine, this person's too much. Like it's not like you can just go into a shift at night and expect nothing to change, right? And he's so dynamic and quick on his feet. And seeing Jacob come in, he's like, oh, we got to vote Natalie then. Like we have to throw a couple votes on her because Muna wants everybody to vote her, but if everybody votes Muna and she's the LOS, then she's going to pull. Then Jacob will actually go up if we don't vote, right? And that like he had already worked out all the math and the numbers very quickly, and I was very impressed by that.
Yeah. So then we see Muna and Billy have a conversation, and I love their relationship because like the second Muna walks in the room, Billy's like, yeah, they're trying to get the votes on you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no pretending, no, like you have to get it out of me. No, like, hey, I think I've heard your name. Like, you know how sometimes you'll see allies in these reality TV show games. It's like they're speaking to their ally, but they're not really giving them all the information they need to properly defend themselves, which they need to even help that person, you know, stay alive. And we see Muna or Billy just immediately be like, yeah, they're trying to pitch me, like they're trying to pitch you and they're trying to, you know, get me to vote you. And Muna's immediately like, yeah, vote for me. It's perfectly fine. Vote for me. I have an LOS. I'm going to use it. I thought it was really sweet of Billy. Like you could see she was hesitant. She was like, wait, why? Like what? And then the second Muna's like, because if they see that you're with me, you're going to be next. And Billy's like, boom, done. I'm voting for you. Like, oh yeah. Sentiments aside, I'm voting for you.
They're gamers. They're gamers. And I
yeah.
love it. In contrast to, just kidding. She tweeted us, so I'm not gonna. Natalie had an interesting week. So like, I had an insight into Natalie because actually seeing Spencer kind of roll back a little bit into the person he's been, right? The kind of the person leading the charge. After he's done a great job of laying the groundwork as a much more somber kind of background person, it made me remember that like, you know, we are all who we are. You know, it's hard to change who you are as a fundamental person in this like 7-day game, right? Especially when you're putting these pressure cookers. And I think Natalie is someone who, especially after the early game where she was accused of floating, I don't think she's probably not a floater in life. She's probably a more active personality in her own life, but in this house of dynamic personality, she's kind of fell to the bottom. And it seems like every week she's like, I need to play hard. I need to like get my point across. I need to be the one, you know, pulling the strings this week. And so, of course, she came to this week the same way, making a pitch that was, you know, both somewhat obvious and also like not likely to succeed the way she had presented it, which is like, let's get Muna out. That was the pitch. So as opposed to Spencer, who at least had like this reasoning he would try to offer to Billy. But there's this moment where Natalie goes to talk to Josh and Spencer, and Josh is like, creates this master plan to save Natalie. He's like, yeah, they'll do this, and they'll do this, and then, you know, somebody will parachute in from the roof, and we'll sneak underground. He's like, I'll use the LOS on you, and then it'll flip. And she's
I'll
like, oh,
slingshot
cool.
my LOS to you.
Right? But like in confessional, she's like, I don't really know how I feel about that. And I was like, feel about them saving you? Like, what do you mean? He said he's gonna save you. You're like, I don't know if that's the right play. Like, maybe I should go into competition and try to win it, and so I prove that I'm. And I was like, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But that's a bad plan. Like, that's an objectively bad. And she obviously didn't go with it, so she realized it too. But I was just like, her calibration is always, it's always a step behind. Like, if she had thought this 2 weeks ago, it would have been a great thing to think. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except now it's like, no, we're final 6. This is not the time to prove your worth.
Someone wants to give you their advantage to save you, you take it.
Yeah.
You take it, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, that was, yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, I think, you know, I think she's trying. I think she's just getting outplayed. And, you know, we'll see if she can calibrate. We'll see if, you know, the other people, maybe they play too hard. And so they kind of outplay themselves and giving her, you know, giving room for her to kind of rise up. But I think, you know, she tries, and she's definitely trying, but everyone else is just 2 steps ahead. And I just want to comment on Billy tonight, man. I'm impressed with Billy every night, but I was so impressed, especially I guess with her confessionals, when you see her giving insight into what she's thinking when people are talking to her, right? Like, you know, she sees you know, Spencer coming in and like dominating the conversation and talking. She's like, yeah, all right, cool, I'll let him talk, you know. And you see she can deal with that in such a, like, an even keeled way versus, like, you know, Rachel. You know, if this was a confessional from Rachel, she'd be like, I hate him. He makes my skin crawl, you know? And Billy's just like, all right, yeah, you know, let him talk, whatever. And then, you know, during that, I think either that same conversation or a little bit later, when they'll try to, again, convince her that, you know, she should vote for Muna. Yeah. Because, you know, Muna's for sure going to win this game. And Spencer's like, you know, anyone sitting next to Muna is going to lose. And Billy's like, all right. And it was seeing the confessional, and Billy's like, maybe if Muna's sitting against y'all, you guys will lose, but sitting against me, like,
that's a good point.
And I was like, and the whole time I was like, yes, like, if it's a Muna versus Billy, I don't know, Billy's been playing a strong game and she's super loyal, but like, yeah, if it's Muna versus anyone else, like, the way Billy says, like, yeah, she will dog walk you guys, like, she will sweep, you know. So I could see why Muna at the end was, you know, like, I'm not concerned with me sitting next to Muna. Like, I can make my case. And I thought that was really just super astute of Billy to recognize and verbalize.
Yeah. So that was the discussion after the twist. And then we got to the vote. So their options were Jacob, Natalie, and Muna. The votes fell, well, before we even got the votes revealed, we had an LOS played, right? Sequesterbot came out with this empty trays, and Muna played her LOS.
Yeah.
And it was
in spectacular fashion. She was very excited about that. She like ran a mile. She was so excited.
Probably should have saved that energy for what happened later. But yeah, she was hype. She was really hype. I was even a little bit taken aback. I was like, oh, you knew you were.
Me too.
This wasn't a surprise. Nobody played it on you. You knew this was going to happen. Like,
I mean, Billy acted like it was a surprise. Did you hear Billy in the background when she was like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, Billy.
Yeah, it was, they did their best. But it was super hype. And so Jacob was up. Jacob had to go up. And Muna had bluffed before. He had the second most votes, sorry. Muna had bluffed before that she had the battle back power. I forgot to say that. She had told several people in the house that she had the battle back power that Jacob had already used. So not only would she use the LOS, she would use the battle back if it came to that. So she was for sure safe. So that's why she told people to throw votes on her, because she knew she was safe according to her bluff. But Jacob goes up and he basically says, like, you know, even though Muna had called him and Natalie out in her speech, basically said, like, if you try to take me, you're a coward. Jacob was like, I mean, I literally don't know who else I would take. Like, it's you or Natalie, and I've kind of worked with Natalie, and I'm not working with you. So yeah, you.
And also, you're not the weak move. Like, Muna is fascinating to me, and you know what? It's a good strategy. You know, she's created this narrative that if you pull me into a battle back, you're weak, and that's a weak move. It doesn't matter that it's 100% not true, right? Like, it's kind of like you know, not to elevate this you know, this tactic too much, but it's kind of like Dr. Will in Big Brother when he'd be like, vote me out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't want anybody to vote him out. Like, she's created this narrative of like, if you vote me, it's a weak move. And I think Jacob did a somewhat effective job of being like, how is that a weak move? Like, we see how the jury is like eating up everything you're giving them. Like, they're firmly in your pocket. Like, why would anybody want to be sitting next to you with the jury deciding? It's not a weak move, and I'm gonna pick you.
Yeah, I have a lot of critique of Muna's game this week, and I think it kind of echoes back to her game in general. And we'll get to that in a minute because it definitely touches on that.
Get to it now.
All right, yeah, he calls her bluff. Right? He says like,
Yeah.
"Come on up," and then I think Natalie was like, "Play it, play your thing." I was like, "I don't know why you're the one saying this because I don't get it." But then Muna was like,
I forgot about that.
I don't have it. Yeah,
Was.
I was like, okay. Muna was like, "I can't do it. I don't have it." And Spencer,
yeah, why would Natalie tell her to play?
I don't know.
Like,
I never know what
Natalie.
she's doing. I never know what she's doing. I never understand it. I don't know. But so Muna had to actually go into competition. Muna, and literally right after Jacob called her bluff and she was in competition, she said like they had her in her little, pre-comp speech, and she's like, I'm feeling powerful. And I was like, Muna, you used an LOS to get off the block and ended up on the block anyway. You were running this game for the first like 6 weeks, and you've been on the block for like 2 weeks. What about this speaks of power to you? Like, what is going on? And I realized that her game, in the same way that I think Natalie and Spencer struggle to deviate from their own personal strategies, I think Muna is trapped by this need for bravado and like bluster and bluff and come on, I'm strong, I'm in a place of power, y'all can't phase me. And I get that internal self-talk. I get why you need to talk yourself up to like, really forge ahead and move through these people and do what you got to do. But like when it's in confessionals, I'm like, are you buying your own hype? Like, are you buying your own propaganda? Like you're spreading this message around the house, but like I think you're starting to believe it, which maybe you need to believe it to spread it effectively. Maybe that's where you're coming from. But it's very bizarre. And like as I thought about other weeks, I'm like, this is your second time leaving. Spoiler, whatever. She gets, again, watch the episode before you come to us. This is her second time leaving the game, and she's acting like, I came what I did here to do. And I was like, you didn't come here to win? Like, what do you? I get that there's other things at play for you. I get you want to be a representative of your community, and that's important. But like, of course you're disappointed you lost. Like you're a competitor,
and it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that. And you see like Jacob, like in his confessionals, like it's one thing when he's in front of them, he's trying to, put out the persona that he's been trying to put out. But in confessional, he's like, yeah, I'm probably going to go up. Like, I'm just going to have to get ready. Like, I'm just got to be prepared for it. I'm probably going to go up,
Yeah.
And it's just like, you can be real with us. You're not competing against us. We're watching, And so it's interesting. But again, I think that's kind of the beauty of her in a sense. It's like she's a poet, right? She's a writer. She thinks very creatively. So I think in her head, she has crafted this whole narrative for herself and for her journey in this game. And in a way, spoiler alert, I think she's kind of manifested what her journey would be like. She's manifested this win.
Yeah.
And so for her, she's still like, like maybe this is my comeback. Going into the battle back competition, she's like, maybe this is my comeback story. Like I feel powerful. Like I just played this thing and like, not recognizing that I'm still on the block though, but it was, I wanted more from Luna. I'll just say that I wanted more from Luna.
I did. And the house is tough. It's a tough game. Any game like this is tough. But I was just so surprised that even to the end, she was like the band playing at the end of Titanic. If they had decided themselves to stay and weren't ordered to stay, they're just like, oh, the ship will come back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like your friends are drowning. Like what is happening? All of your friends are sitting there with face masks on, and you've been in the competition 2 weeks in a row. Like what about this feels powerful to you? Anyway, let's get to the competition.
So tell us about the competition.
So this battle match, competition. It was colorful, and it was called Puzzle Me. And the way it worked, there was this pole. It had 4 like plastic bowls on it, and in each bowl there was this array of colored ping pong balls, and there was a sign above it that had that said that basically each bowl should have one uniform color. So the top bowl is pink, second bowl is all blue balls or whatever, then yellow, whatever. But they're all jumbled up right now across the 4 bowls. You have to put them all into the right bowls, and then take out the balls with letters on them. And there was 8 of them.
I think it's 2 from each thing. Yeah.
There's 2 balls in each bowl with a letter on it. You have to take all those out and then go assemble them into a word at the table. The first person to assemble the word wins and stays in the game.
Yeah. So
what did you think?
It was interesting. Again, I think it was a pretty fair, gender neutral competition. I didn't think like anyone had a specific advantage. I thought they were, in terms of like separating, the colors, I thought they were both both right neck and neck. I mean, they both were using two hands, kind of the same strategy, right? We didn't see anybody like dump it on the ground and like try to start from scratch. Like they both were moving like pretty just, mechanically, just going through. And I think Jacob may have finished like just a few seconds before her, and started, taking his balls to the table. But I mean, they were right there neck and neck. It was a pretty equal game.
Yeah, and I thought it was.
So
that was a cool game. Yeah, it wasn't like my favorite or my least. It was a cool game. And yeah, I thought it was pretty fair. I don't know what else to say other than they they did it and Jacob won. I mean, the word that they had to spell was manifest. They took different strategies. I feel like the editing drew that out a little longer than it was. I got the sense they both looked at it and were like, okay, this. But yeah, he put it together before she did.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting to watch Jacob. I thought Jacob might lose it because like you see Muna like rearranging, which is probably like how I think I would be able to unscramble the letters. Like I'd rearrange and take like, okay, like F in the front, and then okay, no, like M in the front, go that way. And we see Jacob and he just has the letters and he's just doing this and just like looking, and just must have gone off like a light bulb. He's like, oh, boom, manifest, and he just like made manifest. I was like, okay,
that was amazing.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun to watch, but it was.
I have two quotes from Muna that I want to. So the game ends.
Please share.
She loses. She's eliminated from the competition for the second time, and the first thing she says is like, "It gave me peace," and I'm like, "Sure, right? that's part of the experience of like you lose, and you're like, I'm fine, I'm cool with it." At the same time, like Muna, you worked your ass off in this game. Like you worked hard. You're a gamer. You're a competitor. The first feeling after losing the competition when you're a competitor isn't peace. The first feeling is disappointment. First feeling is like, damn, I should have zigged when I zagged, right? Then after that, she said it reminded me that I came exactly. That's what I mentioned earlier. Like it reminded me that I came here to do exactly what I did exactly what I came here to do. And I'm like, this isn't exactly what you came here to do. This is perhaps a version of it. I don't know. I think because she was clearly the front runner in the house in so many ways, and so much of the power dynamics in the house centered around her. I wished for a little more, not self-awareness, because I think she's very self-aware. I think it's honesty. I think she's hiding it. Honestly, I think she's a little bit guarded and hiding kind of her feelings from the audience. I know that's not necessarily how she's perceived. She's perceived as a very real person. I think she is in her relationships, but I don't think she was completely real with the audience. And I don't think that's necessarily a flaw. I mean, these games are, as we've seen from other shows like this, you do have to be careful with the audience, right? I mean, Spencer, right? He's gotten a redemption arc going now, but if this season ended on episode 5, he'd be in hot
keyword.
Soup. So like, I do think, and I think especially as a woman of color and somebody from her background, like there's a lot of reasons why you don't want America knowing your business, right? And feeling like they have full access to you. And so
or showing that sort of weakness.
I can get her reservation. I can get her unwillingness to be fully vulnerable, but I do think that's what it was. It was a bit of like a, this is where this is the fourth wall. Like you guys can't get through this.
I can kind of see that. I can certainly see that. I think especially, as when you're put in a position where you have to be the representative, right?
Yeah.
And you're put in that position when you're the only one that looks like you that's there, then you really unfortunately take on the weight of that entire community. And so I can certainly see her being there and be like, man, I can't give these people the satisfaction of seeing me cry or seeing me upset or seeing me like express how disappointed I am that this is the freaking second time I'm getting down. It's like, fine, like I'm gonna own this. I'm gonna make this my own, and I'm happy to be leaving. There you go. Now what? You can't tell me otherwise. So I can certainly see what you're saying, and I could if that's the case, I can certainly see why she would do something like that, even unconsciously, like just being in that position where just like, I'm not in a position where I can just be fully vulnerable and say like, this really is breaking my heart. And I've worked so hard for this, So, we see finally, unfortunately, in the end of Muna, there's no battle back. Now we have just the final 5 moving forward. And I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think, I don't know. There's a lot of big, strong players left. I think it's going to be, everyone could either say, okay, fallback position, Jacob, let's just keep pushing for Jacob since he's, voted out previously, or second, the second person with the most votes. Or they could start to wise up and be like, maybe we got to turn on Billy. Maybe we got to form, a little group to push out Josh. So
Yeah. They might even think
I
like,
don't know.
maybe Natalie's actually the best player. We need to get her out. Actually, maybe. I mean, anything can happen, except for
Is anyone
that.
coming trying to get? I don't think anyone's trying to get Natalie out.
Yeah, I think she's fine.
But I mean, the fact that she said it herself, she's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I could be the GOAT. It's like, could you? Maybe you are.
I think she knew. Like, to be fair to her, I think
yeah.
She's like, damn,
I
like,
think,
I'm the GOAT and I don't know what to do about it. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I will see what she does with it, but like lean into it. Who cares? Whatever. I tricked all you guys into thinking I'm a GOAT. Like, let me be a GOAT. I'm gonna be you thought I was a GOAT, but I'm actually the greatest of all time kind of
dragon. Right? Yeah. Just start blowing flames on people.
If she borrows like a word, a spoken word out of like a Muna's playbook, like a rap word out of Billy's playbook, it does like a little word play. Like, you thought I was a GOAT, but I'm actually the greatest of all time at the end. Like, I will give you that vote. So like, don't be crying thinking people think you're a GOAT. Like, be the GOAT. Be the GOAT at the end that wins it. So
tomorrow morning,
we'll see
she should have she should like sipping lemonade with like an umbrella straw with like her sunshades on, be like, oh, y'all thought I was playing weak? Y'all took me to the finals. What up, baby? And just like really lean into it. Yeah, let them know you ran that house.
Look, I want to see it. So I don't know. At this point, my money is still. I'm predicting a Billy win. I'm predicting a Billy win. I think that's my prediction. I'm predicting a Billy win.
I'm only going to stick to my guns because I'm just a stubborn person. Like, I could see a scenario in which, depending on what the twist is this coming week, right? I could see a scenario in which people realize Billy is now the Muna and they have to get her out. And Josh takes it. I could see that happening too. I don't know.
I could see that. You're right. I think I want to see a Billy win because I think most people in the house like her. But I think at some point, Billy and Josh are going to have to pull the trigger on each other. Yeah. And I'm hoping that look I saw in Billy's face makes Billy realize that she has to do that now. She's because Josh is pretty much already about to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're going to see next episode. But we'll see.
Showdown.
And when we see it, we'll come back here and tell you all about it. So,
because we are the real siblings, and this is when real talk.
With the real siblings.
Yeah, sorry.
Get into it. All right. Yeah, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
See y'all next time.
Bye.